The entire town froze the moment three battered motorcycles rolled into the quiet roadside parking lot under the bright afternoon sun. Thick steel chains hung from the bikes, their riders covered in dust, bruises, and exhaustion after what looked like the longest ride of their lives. Parents quickly pulled their children closer. Store owners quietly locked their doors. Everyone assumed trouble had finally arrived. Only one man walked toward them. Marcus Reed, a hard-working single father raising his 9-year-old son Elijah, looked at the frightened strangers with calm eyes instead of fear. While everyone else stepped back, he stepped forward with a gentle smile and quietly said that no one should be afraid because he was there to help. Before this unforgettable story continues, if you believe kindness deserves a second chance, please like this video, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from, share this story with someone who still believes in humanity, and subscribe to the channel Wisdom Story House. Your support helps us bring more emotional stories like this every week. Marcus lived a simple life in the peaceful town of Willow Creek. Every morning under clear blue skies, he repaired bicycles and lawn equipment from a small workshop beside his modest home. His wife had passed away years earlier after a sudden illness, leaving him to raise Elijah alone. Money was always tight, but Marcus never allowed hardship to steal his kindness. His neighbors often wondered how someone carrying so much pain could still smile every single day. That warm afternoon, Marcus and Elijah were repairing an old bicycle outside the workshop when the distant roar of engines echoed across the valley. Within minutes, 3 motorcycles slowly entered town. The riders looked exhausted beyond words. Their leather jackets were torn, their faces scratched, and heavy chains wrapped around parts of their motorcycles after an accident involving a collapsed mountain bridge miles away. They had used the chains to keep damaged parts from falling apart just long enough to reach safety. Most people misunderstood what they were seeing. Rumors spread through town within minutes. Some whispered that dangerous bikers had arrived. Others claimed they were criminals hiding from the police. Fear grew much faster than truth. Marcus noticed something different. He noticed shaking hands. He noticed empty water bottles. He noticed tired eyes carrying more sadness than anger. Instead of judging them, he invited the 3 strangers into the shade beside his workshop. He offered cold water, sandwiches that he had prepared for lunch, and a place to rest while Elijah quietly brought out a first aid kit. The oldest rider introduced himself as Owen. The second was named Victor. The youngest was Mason, barely 24 years old, riding across the country to fulfill a promise he had made to his late father. They explained that they belonged to a national motorcycle charity organization known for delivering food, medicine, and emergency supplies to families after disasters. They were traveling toward another charity event when severe storms destroyed part of the highway, damaging all 3 motorcycles. They had not expected kindness. They certainly had not expected it from a stranger who barely had enough for himself. Marcus spent the entire afternoon repairing what he could using old tools, spare parts, and countless hours of careful work. Elijah eagerly handed him wrenches while asking questions about motorcycles and long-distance travel. For the first time in days, the 3 riders laughed. When evening approached, Marcus refused every offer of payment. He simply said that someday they should help someone else who needed hope. The bikers promised they never would forget. Life slowly returned to normal. Weeks passed. Marcus forgot about the encounter. Then everything changed. One bright morning, Marcus received heartbreaking news. The small workshop that supported his family had been condemned after inspectors discovered serious structural damage caused by recent flooding beneath the foundation. Repair costs were impossible for him to afford. Without the workshop, he had no income. Bills piled higher every week. Elijah quietly overheard conversations about selling their home. Marcus worked temporary jobs carrying lumber, repairing fences, and mowing fields, but nothing lasted long enough to solve their growing problems. One afternoon Elijah found his father sitting alone outside the empty workshop. For the first time since losing his wife, Marcus looked completely defeated. Yet even then, he refused to blame anyone. He simply kept trying. Hundreds of miles away, Owen happened to receive an old photograph someone had taken that afternoon outside Marcus's workshop. The image showed Marcus smiling beside the repaired motorcycles with Elijah proudly holding a wrench. Owen remembered every detail. He remembered the sandwiches, the cold water, the kindness without expectation. Within hours he contacted fellow members of their motorcycle charity network. He shared Marcus's story. Thousands read it. Thousands shared it. Thousands wanted to help. No one imagined what would happen next. 3 weeks later, on another peaceful sunny afternoon, distant engines again echoed across Willow Creek. This time there weren't 3 motorcycles. There were hundreds, then thousands. The sound grew louder until the horizon itself seemed alive. Families stepped outside, children climbed onto fences, store owners stood speechless. More than 6,000 riders entered town in carefully organized groups, stretching for miles along the highway beneath clear blue skies. Every rider wore a small ribbon reading simply, "Kindness comes home." Marcus stared in disbelief. Elijah could barely breathe from excitement. Leading the procession were Owen, Victor, and Mason. Behind them rode veterans, nurses, firefighters, teachers, mechanics, delivery drivers, farmers, and ordinary people whose lives had been changed by acts of kindness. Many had never even met Marcus. Yet his story had reached them. Without asking for permission, volunteers immediately began rebuilding the workshop. Licensed electricians replaced dangerous wiring. Carpenters rebuilt damaged walls. Concrete crews strengthened the foundation. Roofers installed an entirely new roof. Painters transformed faded walls into a bright, welcoming workplace. Local restaurants donated meals. Hardware stores donated materials. Musicians performed outside to entertain children while volunteers worked. Elijah spent the entire day carrying small tools from one station to another, proudly believing he was helping build the future. By sunset, the old broken workshop looked completely different. But the surprises were not over. A representative from the motorcycle charity organization handed Marcus an envelope. Inside was enough money to purchase modern equipment, replace outdated machinery, and establish free repair classes for teenagers interested in learning mechanical skills. Marcus struggled to hold back tears. He had helped 3 strangers expecting absolutely nothing. Now thousands had returned to remind him that goodness never disappears. Months later, Marcus's workshop became one of the busiest places in the county. Young people who once wandered the streets discovered purpose, learning valuable skills. Single parents received free repairs whenever possible. Veterans struggling after military service found friendship around the workshop. Every Saturday afternoon Marcus and Elijah organized community lunches where no one asked who was rich or poor. Everyone simply belonged. News stations eventually covered the remarkable story of the 6,000 riders who honored one man's kindness. People across the country began starting similar community projects inspired by what had happened in Willow Creek. The rebuilt workshop became much more than a place to repair machines. It became a place where broken hearts quietly began healing. Years later, visitors still noticed a weathered chain hanging above the entrance. Many assumed it represented motorcycles. Marcus always explained it represented something much stronger. It represented the invisible chain connecting one act of kindness to another until it reached thousands of lives. Every person who walked through those doors left believing that even the smallest act of compassion could someday return in ways no one could ever imagine. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a heartfelt comment, share it with your family and friends, and subscribe to Wisdom Story House. Your support helps inspiring stories like this reach people who need hope today. Special request: before this story ends, please comment with one word, kindness. Let's fill the comments with hope and remind the world that one caring act can change countless lives. As the afternoon sunlight gently settled over Willow Creek, Marcus watched Elijah help another young apprentice repair a bicycle with the same patience he had once shown 3 weary strangers. In that quiet moment, Marcus realized the greatest reward had never been the rebuilt workshop or the thousands of motorcycles that returned. It was knowing that kindness had become a legacy his son would carry long after he was gone. And somewhere beyond the open road, every engine that echoed across the hills served as a reminder that no act of compassion is ever truly forgotten. Sometimes, it simply takes time before the world finds its way back to say thank you.